Imagine a world where the line between human ambition and mortal risk is paper-thin, where geography itself tests how far we're willing to go just to survive, work, or feel alive. High above a deadly drop in England, Infinity Bridge stretches across open air, a narrow thread of steel where one misstep means gravity decides your fate. Here, every breath feels borrowed, and your life depends entirely on a single cable humming in the wind. Far below that silent height, chaos roars in Nawabpur, Bangladesh, where overcrowded streets pulse with relentless traffic, constant accidents, and crumbling infrastructure. An urban pressure cooker where danger comes not from height, but from density and neglect. And at the edge of human endurance lies La Rinconada, Peru, the highest city on Earth, where illegal gold mining fuels lives shadowed by tunnel collapses, freezing temperatures, and toxic mercury exposure, all in pursuit of a dream that rarely pays off. These places aren't just extreme, they are warnings, lessons carved into landscapes by risk, resilience, and human choice. Stay with us as we uncover why people remain, what drives them forward, and how danger becomes a way of life. Infinity Bridge. At Honister Slate Mine in England's Lake District, the Infinity Bridge hangs like a thin line between rock and sky. Anchored by steel cables drilled deep into the mountain, this narrow span stretches more than 100 feet above the valley floor. It was built to test climbers' balance and nerve, where wind pressure and body weight constantly shift the tension beneath each step. Visitors clip in and inch forward, feeling the bridge sway over a near vertical drop that leaves no room for error. Safety teams have recorded multiple slips and panic incidents here, turning this breathtaking crossing into a clear warning. At this height, confidence must match caution. Nawabpur. In Nawabpur, Bangladesh, danger does not erupt from cliffs or storms, but from the street itself. This historic commercial district has evolved into one of the most chaotic traffic zones in the country. Narrow roads built decades ago now carry thousands of pedestrians, rickshaws, motorcycles, delivery vans, and overloaded trucks every hour, with almost no lane separation. Informal street markets spill directly onto the roadway, forcing vehicles to weave through crowds, transporting metal parts, machinery, and construction goods. During peak hours, traffic can slow to walking speed for more than 30 minutes across a distance shorter than 1 mile. Aging infrastructure, broken signals, and inconsistent enforcement amplify the risk. Local reports document frequent collisions, injuries, and near misses daily. In Nawabpur, movement itself becomes a calculated gamble where congestion, human density, and fragile systems collide. La Rinconada. High in the Peruvian Andes, La Rinconada clings to the mountains at an altitude of over 16,000 feet above sea level, making it the highest permanent settlement on Earth. Oxygen levels here drop to nearly 50% of what the human body expects, forcing hearts and lungs to work constantly under strain. Beneath the frozen ground lies gold, and with it, danger. Thousands of informal miners tunnel by hand through unstable ice and rock, often without permits or protection. Mercury is widely used to extract gold, poisoning soil, water, and lungs, while long-term exposure has been linked to nerve damage and organ failure. Law enforcement is fragile, sanitation is minimal, and crime thrives in the shadows of unregulated wealth. In La Rinconada, survival is traded for the promise of fortune, where altitude, toxicity, and lawlessness form one of the most hazardous human environments on the planet. Inca Rope Bridge. Suspended above a roaring canyon in the Peruvian Andes, the Inca Rope Bridge of Queshuachaca stretches nearly 100 feet across a river that cuts through rock with relentless force. Built entirely from twisted grass fibers, the bridge is reconstructed by hand every year using techniques passed down for over 500 years. No steel, no concrete, only braided ropes anchored to stone. As the bridge sways several thousand feet above sea level, each step tests balance and nerve. A single misstep can mean a fatal fall. Yet for local communities, this fragile structure is a lifeline, proving how ancient engineering endures in one of the most dangerous crossings still in use today. Skeleton Tribe. Deep within the dense rainforests of Papua New Guinea lives the so-called Skeleton Tribe, one of the most visually striking cultures on Earth. During ritual festivals, warriors paint their bodies in black and white patterns that mimic human bones, creating the illusion of living skeletons moving through the jungle. The designs are made using natural clay, charcoal, and plant pigments, materials refined over hundreds of years. Masks are carved from wood and decorated with feathers, shells, and animal hair, some measuring more than 3 feet tall. These ceremonies are not meant to terrify outsiders, but to honor ancestral spirits and display strength, unity, and survival in a harsh environment shaped by mountains, rivers, and isolation. Drums echo for hours as dancers leap and chant, raising body temperatures above 100 degrees Fahrenheit in humid air. For visitors, the experience feels otherworldly, beautiful, intense, and unsettling, revealing how culture itself can become one of the most powerful and dangerous forces on Earth. Zhangjiajie Grand Canyon Glass Bridge. Stretching across China's Zhangjiajie Grand Canyon, this glass bridge hangs nearly 300 meters above the valley floor. Its steel frame and transparent panels span more than 430 meters, engineered to flex under wind and weight. Construction crews work suspended over empty air, where a single mistake meant fatal consequences. For visitors, every step triggers fear as the glass reveals the abyss below. At the center, bungee jumpers leap with only one elastic cord between life and gravity. Accidents and panic injuries have been recorded. This bridge is a spectacle. Tanah Toraja. High in the misty highlands of South Sulawesi lies Tanah Toraja, a place where death is not an ending, but a long and deliberate journey. Here, funeral rituals can last for weeks, sometimes years, as families save the equivalent of tens of thousands of US dollars to honor the deceased. The iconic Tongkonan houses, shaped like upturned boats, reflect ancient Austronesian beliefs tied to ancestry and the afterlife. One of the most unsettling traditions is Manene, a ritual in which families reopen tombs to clean, dress, and symbolically care for preserved remains. These ceremonies follow seasonal cycles and ancestral calendars rather than modern timekeeping. Burial sites are carved into vertical limestone cliffs rising more than 100 feet, where wooden effigies stand guard. For outsiders, Toraja challenges every assumption about life and death. This is not a destination for the faint-hearted, but a living anthropological record where culture, geology, and belief collide in ways that feel almost impossible on Earth. Huashan Plank Walk. Clinging to the sheer granite walls of Mount Hua, the Huashan Plank Walk feels less like a trail and more like a test of human nerve. The mountain rises more than 7,000 feet above sea level, where oxygen thins and temperatures can drop sharply without warning. The path itself is a series of narrow wooden planks bolted into a vertical cliff, some barely 12 inches wide, suspended over a near-vertical abyss. Originally carved by Taoist monks centuries ago, this route was never meant for tourism. Today, climbers rely on simple safety harnesses as powerful winds and sudden fog reduce visibility to just a few yards. Even minor missteps have led to serious injuries over the years. This is not a walk, it is a confrontation with gravity, altitude, and fear, where every step demands absolute focus. Kayan Village. Hidden in the misty highlands of eastern Myanmar, Kayan Village appears timeless, yet its traditions raise complex questions about culture and risk. The Kayan people are best known for the custom in which women wear stacked metal coils around their necks, sometimes reaching a combined weight of more than 20 pounds over decades. Contrary to myth, the neck does not truly grow longer. Instead, the constant pressure gradually compresses the collarbone and upper ribs, altering posture and placing long-term strain on joints, muscles, and the jaw. Sudden removal after many years can cause serious weakness and injury. Beyond this striking image, the village survives through intricate hand weaving, where looms produce textiles dyed with natural pigments, and through wet rice, farming sustained by seasonal monsoon rains. Fields carved into hillsides depend on precise water flow and fragile soil balance. This is a place where human biology, tradition, and geography intersect. Beautiful, controversial, and physically demanding, reminding viewers that some impossible places test not only the land, but the limits of the human body itself. Hussaini Hanging Bridge, Pakistan. Stretching across the wild, icy waters of Lake Borat in northern Pakistan, the Hussaini Hanging Bridge is often called the most dangerous bridge in the world, and for good reason. Made of thin wooden planks, loosely tied to steel cables, with massive gaps between the steps, the bridge sways violently in the wind. Beneath it, freezing, glacier-fed water roars through the valley, spanning nearly 230 feet, with dozens of broken boards. Crossing it feels more like an act of faith than engineering. This isn't just a bridge, it's a terrifying path, suspended between survival and the sublime. Korowai tribe. Deep within the dense rainforests of Papua, Indonesia, the Korowai tribe inhabits one of the most extreme human environments on Earth. Their villages rise not on the ground, but high in the forest canopy, where homes are built at heights that can exceed 100 feet above the jungle floor. These tree houses, constructed from branches, bark, and palm leaves, are anchored to massive trunks, chosen for strength and balance. The elevation offers protection from floods, insects, and rival groups, but it comes at a constant physical cost. Climbing narrow, notched logs several times a day demands exceptional strength and focus. A single slip can mean a fatal fall. Construction itself is perilous, requiring builders to work without modern tools while standing on flexible branches that sway with every movement. Daily life, sleeping, cooking, and raising children unfolds far above the ground, where strong winds, heavy rain, and isolation amplify risk. For scientists, the Korowai way of life reveals how human architecture adapts to extreme geography. For outsiders, it is a stark warning. In some impossible places, survival depends on living where one mistake can be final. Suspended between two mountain ridges in the Czech Republic, Skybridge 721 is the longest pedestrian suspension bridge on the planet. Opened in 2022, it stretches an astonishing 721 feet across a deep forested valley at an elevation of over 3,600 feet above sea level. Just 4 feet wide, the bridge sways with every step, and gusting alpine winds howl across the abyss. One glance down, and your fear of heights becomes very, very real. Chernobyl, the dead zone, frozen in time. After the catastrophic nuclear explosion in 1986, a 30-kilometer exclusion zone was sealed off in northern Ukraine. Today, radiation still lingers in the soil, the air, and even the trees. Ghost towns like Pripyat sit abandoned, schools with books still open, toys on beds, clocks stopped forever. The Red Forest, where trees turned crimson from radiation, is one of the most radioactive places on Earth. Mutated wildlife roams freely. Despite tours being allowed in certain areas, much of Chernobyl remains off-limits, and stepping beyond the safe zones could cost you your life. Nature reclaimed it, but danger still rules it. Bajau Water Village. Along the shallow seas of Malaysia, the Bajau Water Village stands as a rare example of human life shaped almost entirely by the ocean. Entire communities are built on wooden stilts, driven into coral shallows, with homes rising just a few feet above constantly shifting tides. Beneath these villages lies a marine world that defines daily survival. For generations, the Bajau people have adapted to life in water, developing extraordinary freediving abilities. Scientific studies reveal that many Bajau possess spleens up to 50% larger than average, allowing their bodies to store more oxygen and remain underwater for several minutes at depths exceeding 60 feet without tanks. Children learn to swim before they can read, navigating strong currents, sudden storms, and sharp coral terrain. Architecture here is lightweight and flexible, designed to sway with waves rather than resist them. But this adaptation carries risk. Rising sea levels, violent monsoons, and accidents during deep dives remain constant threats. The Bajo Water Village is not just a floating settlement, it is a living experiment in how human biology, culture, and architecture evolve together in one of Earth's most impossible environments. Welcome to the Devil's Pool, nature's most terrifying infinity edge. Perched right on the edge of Victoria Falls, one of the world's largest waterfalls, this natural rock pool lures thrill seekers from around the globe. During the dry season, the Zambezi River slows just enough for brave swimmers to crawl to the edge, where a thin rock lip is all that stops them from plunging over 355 feet straight down. One slip, one wrong step, and it's over. While guides are trained, accidents have happened. The current is unpredictable, and beneath the roar of the falls, you might not hear your own scream. It's beautiful, deadly, and absolutely real. The Suri tribe of southwestern Ethiopia lives in one of the most isolated regions of the Omo Valley, where fewer than 40,000 people remain scattered across remote savannas. Daily life unfolds with no roads, no electricity, and minimal outside contact. Girls begin stretching their lower lips at around 12 to 15 years old, gradually inserting clay plates that can reach 4 to 8 inches in diameter. Scarification rituals leave hundreds of raised marks across the skin, created by deliberate cuts and ash. The Suri depend almost entirely on cattle, migrating camps every few months in search of water and pasture under temperatures that often exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit. In a landscape shaped by heat, isolation, and ritual, the Suri continue a way of life that resists the modern world. Eshima Ohashi Bridge, Japan. They call it the roller coaster bridge, a terrifying stretch of concrete rising like a steel dragon over Lake Nakomi. Welcome to the Eshima Ohashi Bridge, Japan's third-largest rigid-frame bridge, connecting the cities of Matsue and Sakaiminato. Opened in 2004, this giant spans over 1 mile long and climbs steeply to let massive ships pass beneath. With a gradient of up to 6.1%, driving across feels more like scaling a mountain than crossing water. Would you dare to take the wheel on this beast? Snake Island, a place so deadly, humans aren't allowed to step foot on it. Just off the coast of Brazil lies Ilha de Queimada Grande, home to an estimated 1 to 5 snakes per square meter. But not just any snakes. This island is infested with the golden lancehead viper, one of the world's most venomous snakes. Its bite can melt human flesh and kill within hours. The Brazilian government has completely banned visitors, except for special research teams with military escorts. No hotels, no tours, no second chances. It's not a legend, it's real, and it's crawling with death. Atulea Village. Perched on the edge of a near-vertical limestone cliff in Sichuan province, Atulea Village once seemed less like a place to live and more like a geological dare. The settlement sat nearly 800 meters above the valley floor, accessible only by a fragile system of hand-carved footholds and vine ladders clinging to bare rock. For decades, villagers climbed a vertical route rising more than 1,000 feet, often carrying children, crops, or livestock on their backs. A single slip meant a fatal fall. Daily life here demanded constant risk assessment. School children began each morning by scaling the cliff, and elders timed their climbs around wind and rain. In 2016, a steel ladder system with more than 2,000 steps replaced the old vine paths, reducing but not eliminating the danger. Even today, the ascent takes over 1 hour, testing endurance and nerve. Atulea village stands as a stark reminder of how geography can isolate human communities, forcing adaptation at the very edge of what survival allows, and warning how thin the line is between resilience and catastrophe. Ayakazurabashi Bridge, Japan. Deep within the misty Iya Valley of Japan, the Kazurabashi Bridge sways like a ghost above a raging river. First built over 800 years ago by mountain clans, it's woven entirely from vines. No steel, no concrete, just nature's strength. Stretching nearly 150 feet long and dangling 45 feet above whitewater rapids, its slats are spaced wide enough to see straight through. It creaks, it shifts, and with every step, you're walking a fragile path between ancient legend and a sudden fall. Sartan tribe. In the far northern reaches of Mongolia, near the Siberian border, the Sartan tribe survives in one of the most unforgiving human environments on Earth. Fewer than 300 people continue this ancient nomadic way of life, moving through the taiga forests at latitudes where winter temperatures can plunge below -40 degrees Celsius. Their homes are simple, cone-shaped tents made from canvas and wood, offering minimal protection against blizzards, frozen winds, and months of deep snow. The Sartan depend almost entirely on reindeer, not for meat, but for milk, transportation, and survival. Families migrate up to 10 times a year, traveling dozens of kilometers across rugged terrain to find fresh pasture. Climate change has shortened grazing seasons and increased animal disease, raising mortality rates among reindeer herds. Every move carries risk. Frostbite, isolation, and lack of medical access are constant threats. The Sartan stand as a living record of human adaptation, resilient but increasingly vulnerable, balanced on the edge between tradition and disappearance. Gailey Bridge, Germany. Deep in the Hunsrück Mountains of western Germany lies a bridge that dares the skies, the Gailey Suspension Bridge. Opened in 2015, It stretches over 1,200 feet across a rugged valley and hangs nearly 300 feet above the forest floor. Built to resemble Nepalese suspension bridges, it sways with every step, especially when the wind howls. Once the longest pedestrian bridge in Germany, it draws thrill-seekers from around the world, chasing the thrill of walking between heaven and earth. Makoko. On the edge of Lagos Lagoon, Makoko exists in a geography that defies conventional urban life. Often called a floating slum, this community is built almost entirely above polluted water, where thousands of wooden homes stand on fragile stilts driven into mud and debris. Estimates suggest more than 100,000 people live here, navigating daily life by canoe instead of roads. The water beneath their homes is contaminated by sewage, industrial waste, and floating trash, creating severe health risks. Clean drinking water is scarce, forcing families to rely on rain or costly deliveries. In this flooded landscape, disease spreads easily. Malaria, cholera, and waterborne infections remain constant threats, especially for children. Fires can spread rapidly, and storms can collapse entire sections of housing overnight. Yet Makoko also reveals extreme human adaptation. Residents construct schools, markets, and churches on water, maintaining social order in an environment many experts consider uninhabitable. Makoko stands as a warning, an impossible place shaped by geography, poverty, and resilience, balanced between survival and catastrophe. Living Root Bridges, India. Deep in the misty jungles of Meghalaya, India, nature and human ingenuity have woven something extraordinary: the Living Root Bridges. Formed over decades by training the aerial roots of rubber trees, these living structures stretch up to 100 feet across roaring rivers. Slippery in monsoon rains and constantly shifting as they grow, they have no nails, no concrete, only patience and precision. Some are over 100 years old, alive and evolving, yet still brave enough to carry human footsteps. Kawah Ijen Volcano. Kawah Ijen Volcano in eastern Indonesia is a place where geology openly threatens human survival. rising more than 7,000 feet above sea level. This active volcanic complex contains one of the most acidic crater lakes on Earth, with a measured acidity close to battery acid. At night, the volcano reveals its infamous blue flames, not lava, but burning sulfur gas igniting at temperatures above 900 degrees Fahrenheit. Despite constant danger, local miners descend daily into the crater, extracting solid sulfur by the hand. Each load can weigh more than 150 pounds, carried up steep volcanic paths carved into unstable rock. Toxic gases, including sulfur dioxide, fill the air, often without warning. Prolonged exposure damages lungs, eyes, and skin, while sudden gas surges can be fatal. Kawah Ijen is a stark example of human adaptation under extreme risk, where survival depends on endurance, familiarity with danger, and a fragile balance between livelihood and lethal geology. Gasa Hanging Bridge, Nepal. High in the remote Himalayas, the Gasa Hanging Bridge swings wildly above a steep gorge carved by the Kali Gandaki River. Built to ease travel between isolated villages, this narrow suspension bridge stretches over 900 feet long and hangs nearly 400 feet above the canyon floor. Buffeted by fierce mountain winds, the bridge trembles underfoot. Yet locals cross it daily, sometimes with livestock in tow. No guardrails, no safety nets, just wood, rope, and the courage to keep moving forward. The Hadza tribe of northern Tanzania lives almost exactly as humans did 40,000 years ago, making them one of the last true hunter-gatherer societies on Earth. Fewer than 1,300 people remain, spread across the dry savannas near Lake Eyasi, with no farms, no livestock, and no permanent homes. The Hadza survive entirely by hunting wild animals with handmade bows and poisoned arrows, and by foraging for berries, tubers, and honey, sometimes climbing trees over 30 feet high to harvest it. They move camps every 4 to 6 weeks, carrying almost nothing, and work just 3 to 4 hours a day to meet all their needs. There is no chief, no hierarchy, no money, and food is shared equally among the group. For over 300 years, fishermen have braved this swaying path above the sea. The Carrick-a-Day rope bridge, dangling nearly 100 feet above crashing waves on Northern Ireland's rugged coast, connects the mainland to a rocky island. Just 3 feet wide, this rope and plank bridge creaks with every step and twists in the Atlantic wind. One wrong move, and it's a sheer drop to the rocks below. Once crossed by salmon hunters, now it's a test of courage for modern-day adventurers. Above 26,000 feet, the human body begins to die. And yet, climbers keep going. This is the death zone of Mount Everest, where oxygen is so thin, your brain starts to shut down. Every breath feels like drowning. Muscles weaken, vision blurs. One wrong step, and the mountain takes everything. Temperatures plunge to minus 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Storms strike without warning. Frostbite, altitude sickness, and exhaustion claim lives silently. And yet, bodies often remain, frozen in place, too dangerous to retrieve. The path to the summit is lined with them, silent reminders of what this mountain demands. Up here, reaching the top is only half the battle. The real challenge is getting back down alive. Peak Walk by Tissot, Switzerland. Suspended above the clouds at over 10,000 feet, the Peak Walk by Tissot is the only suspension bridge on Earth that links two mountain peaks, Viewpoint and Sex Rouge in the Swiss Alps. Opened in 2014, it stretches 320 feet long and just under 3 feet wide, swaying high above a glacial drop. In winter, fierce winds blast across the ridge, and the icy floor becomes a test of nerve. On a clear day, you can see Mont Blanc, the Matterhorn, and Jungfrau, all from one heart-pounding crossing.